Ladies and gentlemen, button pushers and wrench turners, welcome to another episode of Something's Broken. It's been a while. My name's Tayler Goodyear, and I own TG CNC Service out of Wisconsin. It's been a while, a couple of weeks. I think I'm gonna start shooting these every 2 weeks instead of one. There's a lot going on, and I don't really have a lot of people that watch these, so which whatever. For the most part, I do these because they're fun for me. And instead of taking a bunch of pictures at customers and posting it, I just like to sit here and talk about it instead. If anybody's really curious about what I'm doing. Um, so let's get into it. 2 weeks ago, Monday, starting off with a Haas presetter. Um, Pretty straightforward. Had to swap out the presetter head. The customer broke it somehow. I don't know how, but had to run the cable all through the machine and whatnot. It was kind of a motherfucker to do it, but I was able to get it within a couple hours, and then had to go through, setting it, calibrating it, and whatnot. So it wasn't too bad. The next day, I had a Mori NH4000 getting pallet seating detection errors. That's pretty straightforward. I've ran into this issue several times. Usually, what happens is the cones underneath the pallet they build up with chips, and if you don't clear the chips out, they'll pack, and then they won't cause the air blow to seal. So you got to lift the pallet up of the B axis, lift it up, get a rag, get some air, clean underneath the cones very thoroughly, and set it back down. Make sure everything is nice and clean, even the sealing surface of the clamping cones. And yeah, that usually takes care of the problem. So I was there for, I don't know, 20 minutes and fixed it. So customer is happy about that. Next day, I went to a Doosan drive issue at Power Up. Customer doesn't know if they got like hit with lightning or something like that, or had a power outage or something. They don't know what happened. They just started the machine and they had a drive error. Um, I pulled the motherboard out of the FANUC drive. I checked the 5 amp fuse that's on it. Um, it was fine. There's nothing wrong there. So, I checked the incoming 220 volts into the drive. That was fine. I checked the 24 volt supply, which I knew the 24 volt supply was working because the drive had power to it. It was showing a display. So, but I just check it anyways. It's just part of my troubleshooting, and it was fine. I didn't find anything wrong. It was very strange. I actually cycled power and turned it back on, and it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. They just had to cycle power. So I don't really know what happened. If maybe there was just a I don't know, an internal relay didn't pull in on the drive unit. I don't know, but it booted up. I homed it out. No issues. Everything was fine. Customer started the spindle. It was fine. No issues. So, um, Thursday I had something else going on, non-business wise. Friday I had to stop back in at a customer. I did a turret alignment and a machine alignment on a Mazak lathe that they crashed. They wanted me to come back in because they said their tool pocket one was below center line. So I came in and double checked center line on a boring bar holder, and it was fine. They were like, I don't know, 15 microns, which, yeah, you could correct that if you really wanted to, but 15 microns, I mean, in deviation in the Y, and this machine doesn't have a Y axis. So it's literally changing, trying to keep x-axis parallelism of the turret while holding spindle center line. So you're going to end up fighting one or the other. Um, Sometimes what happens is uh, there are ground liners underneath the turret base. to the sub base, and you have to pull those and either shim them or grind them depending on where it's at. Usually, the turret falls below center line, so you have to shim it back up. But 15 microns, I mean, and they weren't leaving a nipple on the front of it on any other tool besides Pocket One. So I was like, okay. So I pulled the tool holder off, and it was the tool holder that actually the machine crashed on. So I was like, okay, so this is starting to make more sense now. I pulled the tool holder off, and they had a big ass fucking dent in it from where the part flew out. And on these holders, they have a locating pin on the back of it, and the locating pin had seemed like it shifted a little bit. So I was like, yeah, you guys just need to either you can replace the pin, or I would just recommend just getting a whole new tool holder. I mean, it is what it is. This thing's kind of beat up, and yeah, you can replace the pin, but then you're taking a chance on that that's not going to fix it, and the casting is actually dented. And I mean, it's just get a new tool holder. It's probably $300, whatever. So I recommended that. Never heard anything back from them, so I'm assuming they got the tool holder and it fixed the problem. So same day, I had another customer was waiting on parts for a Yamasaki vertical mill, 1600, BM 1600, I think it is. They got a new booster in for the tool unclamp, so I went there and swapped it over and installed the new booster, and it took care of the problem. Machine had been down for over 2 weeks because we were waiting on parts. And yeah, it took care of the problem. Machine's booted right back up. Unclamp worked just fine, so they were happy about that. Monday, this customer's got 4 old Tornos machines, man, and I don't really know shit about Tornos, but I'll work on them because they really don't have anybody else in the area that's willing to work on them. So I was just like, fuck it, man, I'll work on them. But anyways, they had a Hydra bar feeder that I gave to my contractor to disassemble. They were complaining about it leaking hydraulic oil, which that's how this thing works is with hydraulic oil. So he took it all apart. He didn't find anything wrong. There's really not any definitive areas where hydraulic oil could be leaking because it uses hydraulic oil to push the bar to feed the bar. So there was on the piston assembly 3 O-rings, so we replaced the O-rings, but there was a lot of fuckery back and forth between LNS and the customer about bushings. Like they ordered bushings and stuff, and LNS was like, "Oh, if it's leaking, it's the bushings. Just replace the bushings." Well, the bushings that they sent were wrong, and come to find out, with some more communication back and forth, the bushings that were in the bar feeder before were special custom made to order, and LNS doesn't make them anymore. So I was like, okay, well, we're going to use the old parts. We're going to put it back together. It's probably going to leak, but we don't know exactly where it could even be leaking from because we can't just put hydraulic oil on it and then see where it's leaking at. Um, there's no points on it that it could leak from, other than the front or the back. And we double checked everything. I mean, there's no seals on this thing other than the 3 O-rings. So I was like, okay, well then, kind of is what it is. We'll put it back together and we'll bring it back, and you guys can install it and go from there. I mean, we don't really know what else we could do for it. So we did that. I don't know if they reinstalled it or not, or if it's working, or if it's leaking. I don't know. But that one was kind of some fuckery going on with that. Um, I had to go back there, and I rebuilt 2 pick-off sub spindles for them for their Tornos machines, and they are notorious for fucking leaking their pre-charge. And this was the whole reason why I rebuilt these things from the beginning, was because they kept leaking pre-charge. Well, I never really watched them charge these things until this time. And then once I actually watched them charge it, I was like, okay, now I see where this thing is leaking from. And it's really fucked up because they use these set screws to bleed off in several points on this pick off sub spindle, you know? Well, almost every one of those set screw points leak. Even when they're tight, they leak. So then over time, it slowly loses hydraulic pressure, and then it loses its precharge. So I was like, well, I mean, we got to change the set screws or something. Like you're going to keep running into this unless the set screws are swapped and making good sealing on the countersink surface. So that's what we did. We swapped out some set screws. We were able to get a couple of the points to not leak, and then there was one point that was still fucking leaking. So it's like, well, you know where it's leaking. I There's really nothing that I can do for you. I don't know what I can do other than tell you like start swapping set screws until you find some that don't leak. And these are very specific set screws on these things. So it I don't know. The sub spindle is working just fine. Everything's fine. It's just leaking its precharge through the set screws, through the bleeder screws. So um, I think they installed one. They were able to get it to charge, and they were going to keep fucking with it. And I don't know. They're kind of hard to communicate with, unfortunately. But there's only so much that I can do in certain situations. So um, next job, same customer. They crashed a Doosan lathe. I had to go through a full machine alignment on that. Um, Taper was pretty bad on the spindle, so I had to do a spindle alignment. Turret was very bad. Um, I had to shim the bottom liner on the Z-axis parallelism. So I was like, listen, guys, if you crash this fucking thing one more time, we have to like basically start stripping down to the sub bases and start realigning the sub bases, or your linear guide rails are going to have to start getting replaced because this thing is it can't take another hit, man. I can only get parallelism to 25 microns, and I can't get it any better than that. I don't have enough shim space to keep shimming it out. So I was like, this is it. Like, you got to try to run it, but I can't. I can't get it better unless we start spending some real time on either replacing shit or just starting from the bottom and working our way up, realigning everything. So, God, I hope they don't do that again, but we'll see. And then they had a relatively new Doosan that they bought and asked me to install, so I went ahead and installed that while I was there. That didn't take too long. So, um, and then Friday to end this last week, customer was getting a J5 alarm on an oil chiller unit on a Mori NL 2500, I believe it was. um, J5 is a thermistor air on the EV, the evaporator valve on the oil cooler. Fortunate for me, I don't live too far from All World. All World is the nationwide distributor of the Daikin cooler units. I am pretty good with those guys. I buy a lot of parts from them. I talk to the CEO all the time when I'm in there. So I usually just go in and I ask their service guys like questions about these units and whatnot. So we were able to figure it out. I had to, wire in a new thermistor. The thermistor ohm readings was like 255 ohms, and it should be 25.5 kilo ohms. So yeah, that one was bad. So wired in a new one, took care of the problem. So um, some insane news. My contractor put in his 2 weeks at his W-2 job, and he is now coming on full time to work with me full time. It's scary. We got a lot going on right now. Um, I'm hoping that it gets busier for us. but we're also working on figuring out another avenue of passive income for the both of us. We're in the middle of that right now. I won't talk too much about it because I don't really talk about shit until it's done, until it's solidified. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right now, we are in a service agreement with a customer, and contractor Cam is there 2 days a week right now, trying to maintain their current machines. I got about 50 machines in house, plus a few robots, some hob machines, shit like that. So uh, he's also revamping and rebuilding their in-house PM and work order system. It's a lot for him to handle, and he's goddamn doing a great job, man. Customers fucking happy, and it sounds like we're getting pretty close to doing a service contract with them. We have a meeting with them in 2 weeks to go over a proposal that I made. I didn't get a no. Um, I did fluctuate some numbers a little bit to try to solidify. So I brought my numbers down a little bit because my first initial numbers were way too high at base rate. So I was like, okay, I will fuck with it a little bit just to solidify the contract and guarantee work for contractor Cam for the next year if we can pull it off. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I have a meeting with them in 2 weeks. I already resent the re-advised proposal to him, and it seemed like that may be good. So we'll see what happens. Um, Next week, I have my local college. They have a closing lathe that's having an issue, so I'll be stopping in there and checking that out. And then I have another customer that has an old Fadal mill that is throwing a spindle alarm. So we'll see if I can figure that out. I don't know. I'm not too confident about that one, but we'll see what happens. And then that's pretty much it. That's holiday week next week, and then the following week we got a big install project coming up. Two machine install that we are doing the electrical for and whatnot. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And then the following week, I have an old Haas horizontal mill that's kind of in pieces right now, and I got to try to figure out how to bring it back to life. So that's gonna be kind of fun, honestly. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it, but I'm sure the fuck gonna try. So customers excited about it, so we'll see what happens. Contractor Cam will probably shadow me on that. That'll be part of his training, so we'll see what happens. All right, motivation time. Developing new risks. Now, what I mean by that is whenever you're developing something new with yourself or with a business or oh shit, fuck. Whenever you're developing something new with yourself or a new skill or new development within your company, there's always going to be risks. And what I mean by developing new risks is it's inevitable that there's always going to be risks when you are growing or when you are building something. There's always risks. You have to endure those potential risks. Like you have to understand, and I think this is where some people get cold feet when starting something new, whether it's business or a new adventure or a new skill or schooling or something like that. Excuse me. It gets to a point to where it gets scary because the risk outweigh the future potential reward, and a lot of people can't grasp delayed gratification. Like we live in such a world that is just bound by instant gratification with social media and validation and oh look at me, give me how many likes can I get? Like that's instant gratification. For people that understand delayed gratification, I think they develop the ability to endure potential risks a lot better because they know in the future that there's going there eventually there's going to be a reward out of it. If I keep pushing, I have to keep pushing. If I get to the point to where I stop pushing, then I'll never know what the potential reward is. But yet the entire time that I'm doing the thing, there in the back of my mind is I'm doing the thing for the potential reward. So I can't stop. And when you stop, that's it, man. Like you'll never see the potential reward. The guaranteed thing to happen if you stop is you never know what it could have been. That is guaranteed. You'll never know. So when you're going into something new and you're developing some new skill or a new business or something like that, you need to understand the risks and you need to be okay with delayed gratification because it could take you a very long time before you see any kind of reward from it. But man, when you get that reward, it's so worth it. And I think another thing that I think is it's the fucking journey, man. Like the journey to get to the potential reward of whatever you're doing, whatever journey you're going through, man. Fucking do it. I mean, look at the risks, embrace the risks, because there's risks in everything that you do, everything, and just fucking roll with it, dude. I mean, how many millionaires, billionaires, business owners, successful business owners, do you think took risks for just a potential of a reward out of any business that they started? Everything had risks, and I think that builds you as a character when you embrace the risks and then you go through the journey and you finally get to the point to where it's like that was worth it. It was worth it. I'm willing to bank on the potential reward in whatever I'm doing. I don't care what it is. If I'm starting another business or starting a new skill or trying to learn something, or I'm I'm down for the ride, man. The ride is the best part. Whether I win or lose, I don't care. Like I have no fear of losing. I really don't. Losing doesn't even cross. I don't think it's ever crossed my mind since I was a wrestler in high school. That is the last time I ever thought or ever feared losing was when I was a wrestler in high school. And it was something that I regret to this day because I talked myself out of a lot of my matches and I could have been a lot better at wrestling, better than I was, if I just didn't fear losing. And ever since I graduated high school, I have never feared loss ever again. And I think that's maybe why I've been relatively successful in building my career, you know? I don't know. It's fun. It's fun, man. Taking risks, building something. What? Just building something and watching it build because of you and your hard work. That's gratification, man. And I'll chase that shit for the rest of my life. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in if you did. If not, whatever, man. I don't care. But I really appreciate the people that tune in and listen to the bullshit that I have to say. My name's Taylor Goodyear, and I own TG CNC Service out of Wisconsin. And I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. We'll see you guys.